Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. I've got Patrick Murph, with me today. He's an Army vet, first global war on terror vet in Congress, represented Pennsylvania's 8th Congressional District, was Undersecretary of the Army, then Acting Secretary of the Army, instrumental in ending the DoD's Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, and has done a million groundbreaking things since then. Murph, it's great to have you on. It's been a couple of weeks since the reins were handed over to Trump and Musk and the cabal around those two. How you feeling, man?
Well, I'm not feeling good, brother, because listen, they ran on inflation and the price of eggs, and last I checked, the price of eggs just went up. So, and here we are again. And listen, Ken, you know me, as you mentioned, I'm an Iraq War veteran. I'm a devout Catholic, proud Democrat. But the reality of it is that when you kick out the folks from USAID, the number one donor of USAID is actually the Catholic Church, right? To help poor people to do things. And, the fact that they, barred their employees from going, it's unconscionable what we're seeing right now. And listen, I am pissed and I am, upset. I do though want that our Democrats that are representing us and our values to be like a bulldog on a bone, but it has to be the right bone. I don't want them to fight on everything. If certain things might be okay, right? But when it goes against our country, our Constitution, our democratic values, Ken, they better roll up their sleeves and tighten those knuckles.
I feel like more than almost any ex-politician or even serving politician that I talk to, you have your finger on the pulse of what average Americans think and feel. And I want to believe this. And I'm slowly convincing myself of it, that the vast majority of Americans who voted for Donald Trump didn't vote for this. They didn't vote for the gutting of Catholic relief services, right? The number one recipient of aid from USAID. They didn't vote for the defanging of the FBI when it comes to going after insurrectionists, but weaponizing it when it comes to going after Trump's critics. They didn't vote for the attacks on minority communities and the mobilization of active duty units to the border to shoot migrants. I want to believe that Americans are beginning to wake up to the menace that Donald Trump really is.
Yeah, I think, I'm an Army guy, but my dad was Navy and my grandfather was in the Pacific with the Navy. But my father, who served during the, Vietnam era, he was a cop in Philly for 22 years. He is beside himself. Those domestic terrorists who literally beat our Capitol police officers with weapons, pepper sprayed them, bear sprayed them. It's just like, and just to give them a pardon after they did that to our Capitol, to our police officers, ruin their lives. It's disheartening. I know JD Vance, before they were sworn in on January 6th, said that, they're not going to do blanket pardons. Then they did them, right? I know they ran on saying unlimited government, and now they're trying to get in everyone's business, right? And so we better stand up as Americans and put our country first and our Constitution first more appropriately, right? And not just, the billionaires, which seem like they took over our government.
Do you think there is an opportunity here with Elon Musk pulling so many strings behind the scenes, with that dais surrounding President Trump at the inauguration filled with billionaires? I think someone did the math, and the net worth of all of them put together approached $1 trillion. There has to be a way, without starting a class warfare, to say, this guy's not looking out for you. This guy is not looking out for you. He's looking out for those billionaires on stage with him.
Yeah, look, listen, they ran up record debt when they were in their last time for 4 years, and they're already saying we're going to lower taxes again, even lower than they are now, right? For the wealthiest 1% of Americans. And that just doesn't jive. We're running deficits. We have a national debt that is immoral, that we're paying about $900 billion a year just on the interest rate of our national debt. And Ken, it's your kids and my kids, that I have to pay for, right? And that's not how we roll in America. We have to make it better for the next generation, better for our environment, better for economy, better for our, frankly, not give them our debt, because we can't afford, tax breaks, when we're living. And it's tax breaks, as you mentioned, for the wealthiest 1% of America, for the billionaires, right? And, we have to get back to fundamental basics. I'm not for raising taxes. I'm not for, right? But I'm sure as hell not for tax breaks for the wealthiest 1% of Americans once again in this new administration.
Well, especially in an era when it doesn't look like inflation's coming down, right? The little guy, what did Trump call them? The forgotten Americans. They're paying more, and they're not getting any more from the government. If anything, they're getting less as Trump slashes services, as he goes after the VA, for God's sake, right? I mean, he's coming after all of it. It's just getting harder out here.
Right. And that's why, if you're an American, whether you're Democrat, Independent, Republican, if you're American listening to this podcast, it is time to stand up, right? It is not like, I don't want to be bothered, I'm too tired, whatever, right? Yeah, listen, if you love the country, you're a patriot, right? And that takes action. And that means, educating yourself. That means listening to this podcast, reading the paper, writing letters to the editor, putting stuff on social media, following people like you and me and others that are out there in the arena fighting the fight, and good people, and doing it for the right reasons. Because not everyone is doing it for the right reasons, Ken, as you mentioned. There's a lot of folks out there that are doing it. They get tax breaks for the wealthy billionaire buddies, and not for middle-class families like yours and mine.
Have you ever wondered how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see? More than you think. Your name, contact info, social security number, and home address, even information about your family members, is all being compiled by data brokers and sold online because your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and unwanted spam calls. That's why I personally use Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. Delete Me sends you regular, personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping your and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, get 20% off your Delete Me plan today by texting Ken to 64000. Text Ken to 64,000. That's Ken to 64,000. It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break to say thank you to everyone who supports this show via Patreon. We're adding exclusive content every week there, so if you haven't signed up yet, head over to patreon.com/Ken Harbaugh. Every single cent we get through Patreon goes back into this show, whether it's researching topics like the piece we recently did on the U.S. Army's counter-fascism training during World War II, or my reporting trips to Ukraine to show what that country is doing to defend its democracy. These episodes can't happen without your support. I'm deeply honored that so many of you have pitched in. If you've been waiting, now would be a great time. We've got another reporting trip to Ukraine coming up and other ambitious projects in the works. We're all in this together. Thanks for everything. You've been an advocate for vets for as long as you've been in politics, probably before then. Can you talk about some of Trump's designs on the VA? I mean, I read recently that for at least a brief period, they paused suicide counseling because it made mention of special considerations for LGBTQ plus veterans, and can't have that. So we're not doing suicide counseling at all. I mean, they're not sparing anybody.
Yeah. And I think that's what breaks my heart when Ken, like I do, we have lost over 125,000 veterans to suicide since 9/11. It's like 10x what we lost to combat, right? And we got to do a better job. We got to do a better job at giving them the resource they need. And it's not just a whole of government approach with the VA, which is incredibly important, and 411 and some other things. It's also about a whole of nation approach. And, as you mentioned, I'm the honorary chairman of what's called Face to Fight. People can check us out at wefacetofight.org. And this is a private sector, led effort to break the stigma, to let people know that get counseling before you need counseling. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And by the way, they're connected. The majority of studies will show that if you actually exercise on a regular basis, it actually cuts depression and PTSD rates. So that's part of, being physically fit. Again, just going to Crunch or Planet Fitness or just doing push-ups in your living room, whatever it is, we have to get our young brothers and sister veterans, when they're transitioning out, and there's about 200,000 of them a year, to make sure that they're doing what's necessary to put them back on the right glide path. That yes, they're leaving America's varsity team, our military, but when they go back, in those other teams and they get that job, they're still expected to be civic assets to this nation. And that's why, I continue to lead that fight.
Yep. We'll put the link in the show notes. Where else can people find you, Murph?
Yeah, listen, my website, patrickjmurphy.com, but especially social media, like at Patrick Murphy PA. I'm on Fox News later today, 11:45, fighting the fight and talking to him, right? Like, listen, inflation was high and it was too high. It was 9%, 2 years ago, but Joe Biden and the team got it down to 2.9% before he left. And now, as you mentioned, it's ticking back up because the tariffs threat, the price of eggs have gone up. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, we didn't put you in there, to shut things down like, Catholic relief charities. We put you in there, not me specifically, but the American people, 77 million versus 75 million, not to focus on the BS stuff, on, continue to move our country in the right direction like it was, and not to backtrack like it unfortunately looks like it's going.
Yeah. All right, Murph. Thanks. We'll make sure people know how to find you. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Ken. Love you, brother.
See ya.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.